Diego Lopes versus Volkanovski. First off, who do you think the favorite is? And I'm not going to make you wonder this too long. I just want to know your gut reaction without looking at any numbers. Who do you think the favorite is? Now, answer to the question, and it's ever so slight, right? I turned right to my partners at DraftKings. I went and looked this up, ever so slight, but it is Lopez. And there's a couple of problems with that, quite frankly. When our rankings committee does not agree with the line, that's interesting. When our rankings committee, the line and the rankings all say something different. I mean, look, let me give you an example. Lopez wasn't supposed to be here. That's just the truth. This fight was already made. They already squared off. They faced off. They agreed to it and they began media. And I'm talking about Ilia Topuria, Volkanovski going to do a rematch. And there wasn't a lot of people that were arguing and pushing back on that. But I will share for you, there's not a lot of historical precedents where you can turn to a guy who had to get woken up in his last fight and he goes and fights for a title. There's not a lot of historical precedents where a guy won one fight and lost 3 out of his last 4. 1 and 3 in his last 4, which spans back 2.5 years. And he fights for a world title. And by the way, I am not putting down Volkanovski. I'm trying to set the stage for you that there's not a lot of room where you would believe an older fighter who came off his throne, not just once, not just twice, but 3 times over the course in 2.5 years is going to walk into a world title fight. But that's exactly what happened. I mean, let me just remind you, Volk was here first. And it came down to a game between Volk and Lopez. And Lopez was quite a gentleman. He didn't really speak up and he didn't really demand it. But boy, he won 5 of his last 5. He's finishing guys left and right. I go back to International Fight Weekend where he's got to fight at 145 pounds until 1 o'clock in the morning when he gets a phone call and agrees to change that same fight to 155 pounds, which, by the way, the following day comes in at a catch weight of 165, which isn't even a weight class. So now they're fighting at welterweight, right? It wasn't just a weight class removed. It was 2 weight classes removed. Like, Lopez has done a lot. But Lopez isn't the one that was given this opportunity. If we had it right the first time, and we had a head-to-head, we had a face-to-face, for the mandate of the masses to see who was going to get the chance, Volkanovski and Lopez. Volkanovski won that battle. So if he rightly should have been the one to win the battle, which took place and he did win, then wouldn't he be the favorite? I mean, just if you follow the laws of logic, if we pick Volk and say he's a better choice than Lopez, wouldn't that mean that you think Volk could beat Lopez? Because when we removed Ilia and created an opportunity for Lopez, who stepped forward, you, the betting public, says Lopez is going to win. And if you, the betting public, believes that Lopez is going to win, why did you not make the push to get him the title fight in the first place? And I am left with that question. We already had Lopez versus Volkanovski. It was done in the media. And Lopez had beaten 5 straight guys, and Volk had gone 1 and 3 in his last 4, spanning back 2.5 years. But you said that he was the rightful choice. And now that push is coming to shove, the bettors have changed their mind. And I just find that to be interesting. I mean, how exactly did we get here? How is there not 145 pounds? Because you want to know who doesn't have a problem with this fight, guys, besides me. I want to see Volkanovski. I want to see Lopez. There is so much on the line here, particularly when you're bringing in an undisputed world championship. Sometimes in life, there are reasons to fight, but if you're in Volkanovski's spot, you're fighting for your career. Volkanovski has been champion of the world and not main evented cards. As the reigning champion of the world, the very thing that he's out here to pursue, with both hands, fingers crossed, trying to win. He'd already won and competed in non-main event spots. So how does a guy who can't get a main event when he is the champion end up in a main event when he's not the champion? Now, I'm only asking you these questions rhetorically speaking. Because a case to slaughter Volkanovski is right in front of us. But not a single man that can fog a mirror and has a contract on 145 pounds with the UFC did so. As a matter of fact, if Volk is to win this fight over Lopez, do you want to know who Volk's going to fight next? Are you excited? Do you want to hear this? You have no idea, and neither do you, because whoever's next has not spoken up. If Lopez is to beat Volkanovski, you wonder who Lopez's first title defense is against? I have no idea. Because nobody at 145 pounds has spoken up. And I'm just taking a close look to how we got here. I mean, don't forget, and it was such a powerful visual. Max Holloway gets toppled by Ilia Topuria. Ilia Topuria is standing in the ring with this big, beautiful gold belt around his waist. In the front row, the front row, sits Volkanovski. 3 rows back sits Lopez. The camera turns to Volkanovski, but it cannot get Volkanovski without showing Lopez because he's right behind him. He just happens to be two seats more back. Neither one of them is invited to come to the ring. Volkanovski knew what time it was. He'd already done this once. Volkanovski crashed a party one time back on Fight Island, and it was the night that Islam had beaten Charles Oliveira. Volkanovski crashes this party and gets a world title fight out of it. So Volk knew, makes a lot of sense. They put me in the first row, they put him in the third row. That's symbolism. That is massive symbolism. That somebody somewhere believes he's in front of Lopez. He storms the cage, gets face to face with Ilia. And something about that never felt right. And it was on Ilia. But there was a way that Ilia gets pissed off fast. It is not the hardest thing to do to upset Ilia Topuria. But he wasn't upset. He was quite polite. And I just think in hindsight, as we look at that, it's because he had already made his mind up, which is I will never weigh 145 pounds competitively again. But without that being here nor there, as the kids say, Lopez was still carved out of the picture. What was he supposed to do? I mean, it's been a long time, guys. You would have booked him. What would have you done with Lopez? Who would have given him? There was nobody challenging him. There was nobody calling him out. There was nobody looking at the board, playing chess, saying, this is the number one contender. Let me get aligned with him. I want a title fight. I can't get it, though. That's already busy between these two, so let me go get the next best thing. Nobody did that. And now, DraftKings says, you guys think Lopez is going to win. And I'm purely curious, why you didn't speak up for him and say that in the first place? Why would you put a guy in there that wasn't the rightful guy? Why would you put a guy in there that can't beat the guy that you thought should have been in there? It gets a little bit complicated. I mean, all of a sudden we're dog chasing their tail, but either way, Lopez is going to be the favorite. With no body of work to show us in between. He hasn't won a fight or lost a fight from the time that he beat Volkanovski in a head-to-head battle in the media. So why were you pushing Volk if you feel Lopez was the rightful guy?